consider the modern condition. The profound and quiet alienation that defines it. You work. You build. You present a curated self to the world. And yet, you encounter a dissonance you cannot name. A relationship, seemingly stable, evaporates without clear cause. A promise of loyalty is contingent upon a performance of perpetual success. You are evaluated not as a whole being, but as a portfolio of traits, current assets, projected status, social proof, genetic potential. You are told to be vulnerable, yet any sign of genuine weakness is metabolized as failure. You are told that love is unconditional, yet you sense the conditions are vast, silent, and shifting. This is not paranoia. This is perception. You are perceiving the operation of an ancient Darwinian algorithm, one that has been running in the background of human consciousness for hundreds of thousands of years. It is the engine of hypergamy. We have shrouded this force in romance, in social convention, in moralistic cant. But the mechanism itself is amoral. It is a biological and psychological imperative, concerned with survival and ascent. To deny its existence is to ensure you will be victimized by it. To understand it is not to succumb to bitterness, but to see the world with clear eyes. It is the first step toward building something real in a world of illusions. In this lecture, we will descend into the uncomfortable truths. We will excavate the biological root, expose the modern trap, and confront what this means for men, for women, and for the tragic comedy of modern relationships. We are not here to condemn, but to comprehend. The truth, however dark, is preferable to the most beautiful lie. The first truth, and the one most fiercely resisted, is this: hypergamy is not a decision a woman makes one day. It is not a conscious policy of mercenary social climbing. To frame it as such is to personalize what is impersonal. It is a biological constant. A drive as fundamental as thirst or the fight or flight response. From an evolutionary psychology perspective, the female investment in offspring is astronomically high. 9 months of gestation, years of lactation, and over a decade of intense provisioning and protection before a child can even approach self-sufficiency. This is a monumental resource gamble. The biological imperative, therefore, is to secure the best possible genetic material and the best possible resources to ensure that investment does not fail. This is the dual mating strategy, encoded deep within the psyche. It manifests as the attraction to two archetypes, often in tension, the dominant protector and the nurturing provider. The former offers genetic fitness, strength, and the ability to defend, signals of good genes. The latter offers stability, resources, and paternal investment, signals of good outcomes. But here is the crucial, cynical insight: this evaluation is continuous. It is not a one-time audit at the altar. It is a background process, running perpetually. It assesses: is this mate still the best available option? Is his status secure? Is his competence evident? Are there signs of decay, of weakness, of a decline in his position in the hierarchy? In our ancestral past, this constant assessment had immediate survival value. A mate who became complacent, who failed to maintain his skill or his social standing, posed a direct risk to the survival of the woman and her children. His decline meant hunger, vulnerability to rivals, a diminished future. We have inherited this psychological firmware. The man who believes the deal is sealed upon commitment is a man who has misunderstood the nature of the contract. It is not a contract of permanence, but of perpetual performance. The romance of happily ever after is a cultural fairy tale laid over this biological bedrock. The fairy tale says you are enough as you are. The biological imperative whispers, are you still enough? This is why comfort so often breeds contempt. Not out of malice, but out of a deep-seated, adaptive anxiety. A man who ceases to strive, who ceases to grow and to confront the challenges of his own existence, signals, on a primal level, a depletion of viability. The unconscious perception is not of a man relaxing, but of a resource stream drying up. The hypergamous instinct, the constant, must then look elsewhere. It is not about being cruel. It is about survival. To expect it to be otherwise is to expect a human being to override hundreds of thousands of years of adaptive pressure with a few decades of social conditioning. It is a constant. Accept this, and you begin to see the world not as you wish it were, but as it is. Our ancestors lived in concrete hierarchies. A man's place was known, visible, and bounded by the physical world. He was the best hunter in the village, or the wisest elder, or the strongest warrior. The mate market was the tribe. The best available option was a pool of perhaps 100 individuals. Comparison was limited to tangible, local reality. The modern world has shattered this container. We now live in a global village. The hierarchy is no longer concrete, it is abstract, digital, and psychologically infinite. A man is no longer compared to the other men in his village or his town. He is subconsciously compared to the composite fantasy of the top 1% of men across all domains. He is compared to the financial prowess of the billionaire on the podcast, the physique of the movie star on the screen, the adventurous spirit of the travel influencer, the social dominance of the celebrity, the intellectual depth of the public philosopher, and the unwavering confidence of the fictional hero. This is the impossible composite. No single man can embody it. It is a psychological phantom, assembled by the algorithmic engines of social media and mass media, which constantly stream images of peak achievement, beauty, and status into the conscious and unconscious mind. This is the modern trap. The biological constant of hypergamy, seek the best, has been disconnected from a local, realistic environment and plugged into a global, hallucinatory one. The instinct cannot tell the difference between the attainable man next door and the digitally curated God on the screen. It only knows the signal of higher value. And the digital world provides an endless, escalating stream of higher value signals. This creates a state of perpetual dissatisfaction, a psychic restlessness. Why? Because there is always a better option in the abstract. A man with more money. A man with more charm. A man with more apparent social proof. The dating app is the perfect manifestation of this hell, an infinite catalog of potential mates, reducing human beings to swipeable profiles, where the next one might just be slightly better, making commitment to the current one feel like a premature closure of options. For the man, this means the goalposts are not only moving, they are teleporting. You cannot win a game where the definition of winning is rewritten by every new Instagram post, every new celebrity scandal, every new story of a 25-year-old tech billionaire. You are chasing a phantom. This abstraction breeds a deep, existential anxiety in men. Their worth is judged against a fictional standard. And for women, it creates a paradox of choice that leads to misery, as the psychologist Barry Schwartz outlined. An overload of options paralyzes decision-making and poisons appreciation for the good, but not perfect, choice that is tangibly present. The village became the world. And in doing so, it made genuine contentment with a real, flawed, human partner an act of profound rebellion against the very currents of our time. Here we encounter a fundamental mechanism of the human psyche, one Carl Jung spent his life mapping. We are not primarily rational creatures. We are emotional, instinctual creatures who then use our formidable intellects to justify, explain, and rationalize the decisions our deeper selves have already made. Hypergamy operates in this domain. It is an emotional and instinctual drive. The attraction to status, confidence, competence, and genetic fitness is felt in the body, in the gut, in what we call chemistry. It is a preverbal, limbic system response. A woman does not consciously calculate a man's net worth on a first date. But she feels the presence or absence of power, the clarity of purpose, the stability of his emotional frame. The decision, the draw, happens here, in the shadowy realm of emotion and instinct. Then, and only then, the conscious mind, the persona, goes to work. It constructs a narrative. It builds a case. It gathers evidence. If the instinct is yes, the mind will list his virtues. He's so ambitious, he's so kind, he has a good job. If the instinct is no, the mind will list his faults. He's not emotionally available, we want different things, the timing is off. We mistake the list for the cause. We believe the rationale. but the rationale is the servant of the deeper, hypergamous evaluation. This is why talking it out often fails in matters of attraction and relationship dissolution. You are debating the carefully constructed legal brief, not the unconscious verdict that precipitated it. This is the dark psychology of it. Society, and individuals themselves, must maintain the fiction of pure rationality. We must believe our choices are conscious, fair, and based on objective criteria. To admit they are driven by ancient, amoral biological imperatives is terrifying. It undermines our sense of agency and our carefully constructed moral identities. So, the language of therapy and pop psychology becomes the perfect rationalization toolkit. I need to find myself. You're not meeting my needs. We've grown apart. These are not necessarily lies. But they are often the civilized, acceptable translation of a much more primal, uncomfortable truth. My unconscious assessment is that you are no longer the optimal vector for my genetic and resource-based future, or you never were, and my instinct is now orienting me toward what it perceives as a better option. Understanding this separates you from the naive. When you hear the rationalization, you learn to listen for the deeper, unspoken verdict. It saves you from arguing against the lawyer when you should be understanding the judge. And the judge, in this case, is the accumulated wisdom of the species, concerned not with your happiness in the moment, but with the cold, hard calculus of evolutionary success. This is the paradox that drives men mad and leads to the failure of the nice guy strategy. The hypergamous instinct ultimately seeks security, the security of resources, protection, and stable lineage for offspring. This is its end goal. However, the attraction mechanism is not triggered by the manifestation of security alone. It is triggered by the demonstrated capacity to generate security from a state of challenge. It is attracted to the process of conquering insecurity, not merely to the peaceful castle after the battle. A man who is already perfectly safe, settled, complacent, and risk-averse broadcasts a dangerous signal on a primal level. He has ceased engaging with the chaos of the world. He is in maintenance mode. And in a world that is inherently chaotic, maintenance mode is a prelude to decline. Where is the next threat coming from? Is he still sharp enough to handle it? His complacency suggests he may not be. Conversely, a man who is at the edge of his competence, who is grappling with meaningful challenges, who is on a path of mastery and dominance over some domain of life, be it his craft, his intellect, his body, or his financial endeavors, this man broadcasts a vital signal. He is in the process of generating security from chaos. He is demonstrating current, active competence. He is showing that he can navigate the edge, adapt, and win. This is why the provider who simply provides a comfortable, boring life often finds himself devoid of passion and respect. He has provided the outcome, but he has ceased the performance that makes the outcome valuable. He is the king who has lain down his sword and grown fat, forgetting that the sword is what made him king in the first place. The attraction is to the warrior in the workshop, not the warehouseman of the spoils. It is to the tension of the drawn bow, not the arrow safely in the quiver. This is profoundly counterintuitive to the logical mind. I have built the safe haven. Why is that not enough? Because the instinct interprets the cessation of striving as the beginning of decay. The safe haven is only valuable if the capacity to defend it and expand it is actively being demonstrated. Therefore, for a man, the Stoic imperative becomes clear. Your mission cannot be her. Your mission cannot be the relationship itself. That is a recipe for deriving your sense of security from her approval, which is the opposite of the signal you need to emit. Your mission must be your own irate, your own excellence, your own confrontation with the chaos and suffering of life, your own journey toward mastery in the domains you choose. Your purpose is your fortress. Not the woman. Not the relationship. Your engagement with a meaningful struggle is the root of the attractiveness. The security she seeks is a byproduct of that struggle, not its replacement. To make her the source of your security is to invert the natural order, and the hypergamous instinct will detect that inversion as weakness. It is repelled by neediness, because neediness is a drain on resources. It is attracted to self-contained, generative strength. The final truth is the red pill. It is the synthesis and the way forward. Knowing these mechanisms is not a call to resentment. Resentment is for the child who discovers the game is harder than he was told. Comprehension is for the adult who chooses to play with his eyes open. Hypergamy is a force of nature. To be angry at it is like being angry at gravity for making you fall. Gravity is not evil. It is a law. You can curse it as you lie broken at the bottom of the cliff, or you can learn its principles and build an airplane. This knowledge is your liberation from two equally destructive fantasies. Fantasy 1, the romantic lie that love is entirely unconditional and that you, in your static being, are enough to satisfy a dynamic, ancient biological drive. Fantasy 2, the cynical lie that all women are mercenary and that relationships are therefore pointless exercises in exploitation. Both are escapes from the terrifying responsibility of reality. The first lets you off the hook for the necessity of perpetual growth. The second lets you off the hook for the necessity of genuine connection and the courage to trust. The Stoic response begins with amor fati, the love of fate. Accept this as part of the fabric of existence. Do not wish for a world where this drive does not exist. You would be wishing for a world without human beings as we are. Accepting it drains it of its emotional poison. It becomes a fact, like the weather. You prepare for it. Your duty, as a man, is not to rail against the wind, but to build a solid shelter and become a competent sailor. Your duty is to orient yourself toward a hierarchy of value that is internal and eternal. The external hierarchies of society, money, fame, likes, are fickle and chaotic. They are not a proper measure of a man. The internal hierarchy is one of character, competence, and courage. Character, your integrity. Your word. Your ability to confront the truth, especially about yourself. Competence, your cultivated skill. Your mastery over a domain. Your ability to bring order from chaos. Courage, your willingness to face suffering, to take responsibility, to speak the truth when it is dangerous, to stand alone if necessary. When you build yourself upon this tripartite foundation, a psychological alchemy occurs. You become non-needy. Your sense of worth is derived from your alignment with your own purpose and principles, not from the fleeting validation of another. This self-containment is the most powerful signal you can emit. It signals true stability, not the stability of a stagnant pond, but the stability of a deep, flowing river that has its own source. You cease to be a passive subject of the hypergamous evaluation. You become the author of your own value. You are not waiting to be chosen. You are choosing your own path. A woman may join you on that path, as a companion, but she is not the destination. The destination is your own becoming. This does not guarantee you a relationship. Nothing can. But it guarantees you self-respect. And from that self-respect, you can engage with the world, and with women, from a position of generosity, not desperation. You can see them as complex human beings also wrestling with their own biological imperatives and social conditioning, not as judges or prizes. You can offer a partnership between two sovereign individuals, not a parasitic contract of need. That is the only thing that has ever, in all of history, stood a chance against the relentless tide of time and instinct. So, we return to the beginning. To the alienation, the dissonance. It was the pain of sensing a truth you were forbidden to name. Now you can name it. You have seen its biological root, in the harsh landscapes of our past. You have seen its modern distortion, in the hall of mirrors we call society. You have seen its psychological machinery, rationalizing the primal. You have seen its paradoxical demand, security, forged only at the edge of risk. This knowledge is not a weapon to wield against another. It is a tool to sculpt yourself. The tyrant you must overthrow is not woman, nor society. It is your own ignorance, your own resentment, your own refusal to bear the burden of consciousness. The Stoics had a phrase, the obstacle is the way. The obstacle of hypergamy, of this relentless, impersonal evaluation, is precisely the way. It is the goad that forces you out of complacency. It is the mirror that shows you your weaknesses. It is the demand that you become more than you are. Heed it. Not with servility, but with the gratitude of one who has been given a difficult, but clear, task. Build your purpose. Forge your character. Master your domain. Confront the chaos. And then, perhaps, you will find that in striving to become a man who cannot be moved by the fickle winds of external validation, you have become the only thing worthy of a true and lasting allegiance.